you want that other person to kind of understand what you're talking about so that you have like this common glue that sticks. And I hadn't really thought about that before. It wasn't that it was love at first sight. I don't think it was for either of us. It was the fact that we had a foundation that we could build on.
Hello there, you've made it. This is Separate Bathrooms. My name's Daddo.
I'm Daddo. Do you mean like you've made it into the bathroom?
They've made it into the bathroom. The door opened, and we're in the bathroom together.
Right, got it.
Not the separate bathroom, we're in the collective bathroom. The collective. And you hear the reverb. We like to sing in here.
We have a very powerful couple coming in today, Tory Archbold and her husband Craig. She's living a pretty amazing life right now. She's a mum, she's a business entrepreneur, she's a coach, she's a successful podcaster. Her podcast is called Power Stories with Tory Archbold. I was very lucky enough to be a guest on her podcast and we talked all about menopause. She started her business Tour Star without any media contacts and built it into Australia's top brand communications agency.
Yeah, she was the go-to agency for top performing global retail brands entering the Australian market and for those Australian brands launching internationally. Brands like Zara, Nespresso, Sea Folly, Victoria's Secret. I wonder if she met Clooney. Nespresso. I bet she has.
Oh.
World-class brands were her bread and butter. Celebrities, influencers were her friends. But a near-death experience forced her to reevaluate what that was. And she realised it was time to reshape her story. Now, with Tory today is her husband, Craig. They've been married for 3 years. Craig's a businessman. They had a unique beginning to their relationship.
Yeah, and a wonderful beginning that we really wanted to talk to them about. Their love story. They met in their 40s and they met online. And we just want to welcome them in and so you can have a listen to all their tips about online dating. They've got a lot of good information.
So let's bring them into the bathroom. Welcome, guys, into the bathroom. I'm sure you'll appreciate the new air freshener we're using.
Love it. Love it. Where's it from, Cam?
It's from Costco.
Oh,
I got 43 bottles for the price of
nice catch.
7.
Nice catch. Tory and Craig. Look, as far as relationships go, you guys have entered the fray a little bit later, at least together. Can you just tell us a little bit about your relationship? Tell us how you met. Like, give us the story. You've got a fabulous story, and this is why we wanted to have you both on to give us all hope if you're over 40 out there. So tell us a little bit about it.
I could start it, but Tory will just take over. So how about I let her lead?
Take your chance when you can, Craig. Come on.
I'll get about 3 words out and then it's it.
Let's hear it.
I see. Okay, duly noted.
We met on Bumble and then...
Yeah, so I was single for 12 years and I was going through a bit of a traumatic experience behind the scenes and wasn't able to date. And it wasn't until I kind of had my breakthrough moment in 2017 that I realized I was ready for love and adventure. Now, working in PR, you're so used to PRing everyone else, but I was not used to PRing myself. So I had to really break through my comfort zone and go on Bumble to find love and adventure. So I have a daughter, Bella, who's now 16, was 12 at the time, and we decided that we were going to go on this love and adventure for 2018. And we were sitting in LAX at the airport, and she's like, "Mom, you've got to go on Bumble." And I said, "You know what? I think I'm really ready for love and adventure this year. Let's do it." And so we'd been traveling around California together on a bit of a girls' road trip, and we'd been watching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And of course, you know, the universe has magic ways of, you know, showing you the signs at different parts in your life. And before we'd actually hopped on that plane back to Australia, we'd bumped into Matthew McConaughey. And so she's like, "Mom, you've got to do this." So at the airport, we decided that we were going to put 5 shots up. And I was going to say, I'm looking for love and adventure. I was a mama of one, a global traveler, and a business owner. And then, of course, we started swiping together. Little did I know that when you got back to Australia, you can't date guys that are in California. It's impossible. And so
makes it a little tricky.
It's impossible. So what I decided to do was was I was short on time, but I was like, I'm just going to jam in within 6 days, 5 dates with different guys and just see how this app works and, what comes out in the wash. And literally I did that. I had a lot of very different experiences. I started dating a guy for a couple of months and I realized very quickly that he was not aligned with my values. And so I decided that I was going to swipe right again, and in enters my husband.
So just to be clear, I made the second round.
Good on you, Craig.
Craig, what the hell were you doing on Bumble? How did that happen? And I mean that without judgment. I'm just really curious.
Oh, no judgment taken. I think for me, I was an early adapter. So I came out of a marriage, 6 years before I met Tory. So in those days, there was very limited. Like I saw Tinder come in. So I feel like an old hat at it.
Did you see Tinder come in as a single man,
yes,
or were you married when Tinder came in?
I was separated, and there was no doubt that so I've obviously been married before, and that marriage was definitely ending or ended, and got onto eHarmony, but I got rejected because I was separated, because apparently you're not allowed to be on there if you're separated.
Oh, you've got to be clear of any commitment.
Yeah. So,
right.
which is probably a good way, to be honest. But there was another one that I think it was Match or something like that. And that was the only one around that was online. And online then was still seen as turn your nose up at it and what are you doing online. And it was really like a classified. You would go through and you wouldn't interact with people. You could just choose and go, hi, I'm interested. That sort of it's sort of the same, but very different. Then Tinder came in and that really sort of shook things up. But I think Tinder was was more of a disposable relationship than when it first came out, for sure. I wouldn't know what it's like now. I haven't been on it for at least a week.
We're joking.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Tory, he's a keeper. I love him.
So I had no issues with being on it. I think it does kill dating though. It doesn't kill dating, but it makes it very hard to make things stick, because everyone's got five, just as what Tory's gone through, and you would have 5 others that you were talking to. So if you didn't like someone's pinky toe, you'd go, oh, there's got to be better than that out there.
Yeah, right.
So it's challenging.
It's a world that Cam and I are not familiar with at all. But I mean, in this day and age, I have 3 friends who met their husbands online, happily married. We're actually encouraging our 24-year-old to go online now, because it seems to be a lot of the way of the world. What are your tips for a good profile? If I was someone like about to set foot into the online dating world, what are the tips for a good profile that I'm going to get some hits?
Well, number one, you need to be raw and authentic, Ali, which means you need to have a photo of yourself today on Bumble rather than a picture of yourself 10 years ago. I think the biggest mistake that people do is they put a photo up and it doesn't look anything like them. You could have someone that looks, all young and fabulous, and then someone, a little bit old and overweight, pop up on their moped for a date with you. You just don't know what you're getting. So definitely being authentic, be true to what you want. I think, if you're going to attract what you truly want in life and what you deserve, you need to put it on the line what you're looking for. Like, I was really honest. I wanted a guy that knew that I was a single mum. So by saying that I was a single mama of one, it was like, well, I have one child that I'm responsible for. Obviously, I'm family orientated. I guess question mark, are you? And then be honest about what you do for a living, because I think a lot of people go on dating apps looking for solutions to their financial problems. And so what I wanted to do was be really honest and say, you know what, I'm a financially independent woman. And what that did was it attracted a certain caliber of men, because I was independent. I didn't need to rely on someone. And so a lot of men, I guess, get scared that they're going to date someone and they're just expected to pay for everything. So I think that's important. And then the third thing is, where do you live and what's your lifestyle like? And when I said that I was a global traveler, I put that up there on purpose because I wanted someone that thought globally. I wanted someone that was willing to travel, that was willing to step outside their comfort zone. So when I talk about the 5 dates in 6 days that I had, I met people that were aligned with each of those profile hits that I put on there. So if you're not clear, you're not going to get back what you want and it's not going to meet your expectations. And so I guess, when Craig and I met, it was like boom, because we liked the same things and we were both really clear on what we wanted and who we were.
So what would you guys say to anyone that is nervous about a dating app?
Oh, it's nerve-wracking for a woman. Like for me, making the first move, that was just like a whole role reversal because you're used to the man making the first move. So, I had to have Dutch courage with my daughter and go, hey, let's do it. And then once I got into the swing of things, it was okay. But it can be nerve-wracking because you're talking to a stranger online. What's your opinion on that?
I was less reticent. I was fine because, as I said, I was 6 years single or thereabouts single. So I didn't even think about being nervous about it. It was just part of living. It was you get up in the morning, you do your work, and okay, well, you're sitting there watching TV on the couch or something, and you do a couple of swipes, and you get up in the morning and you've matched, and you see who matched, and it's a filtering process, and you get up and you do it again the next day. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? But that's. I didn't even really think about it as being daunting. So it's obviously more daunting for a female than it is because there's obviously security issues around it.
Tori, I know that with my girlfriends who did do the online dating as well, they did do a lot of security measures around those first dates. Did you have, in the sense we're not talking about a security guard, but did you sort of have things set up where you had someone on speed dial, you met in a public place? Did you have those measures set up when you first were dating?
Well, I think the beauty of Bumble is that you don't exchange phone numbers.
Yeah, right.
So you just direct message. So it's not like if you decline the ongoing date, they're going to stalk you because they don't actually know who you are. And also I think because I had a public profile, I was really careful not to put anything in that would give away what my business was so that no one could Google. So I definitely was cautious around that. But then again, I didn't really turn up in my car and say, here I am. I'd park a couple of blocks away, so that they didn't know, where I was or who I was doing, and it just looked like I kind of rocked up. But I also made sure that the men that I dated were within 10 kilometres of where I lived.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And Tory is the best stalker that the world has seen.
I'm
good. I was going to say, live inside 10 kilometres so you can run home.
Well, you can run home. No, but I like checking people out beforehand. So I like understanding information. It's like when I do a podcast chat, you want to know who you're talking to. You want to understand the back end of their story. So I try and find out as much information as possible before I actually committed to the date.
So Tory was really off-put because I just didn't have an Insta profile or a Facebook.
You had nothing.
So it frustrated the hell out, and I kept getting these messages on Instagram. Friend me. I'm like, I got you.
Yeah, it took me a month. I'm not joking. I was sunbaking in Bali in a villa with friends. I'm like, I cannot track this guy down. I need to know more information. He wants to go on a second date.
If he doesn't have an Insta profile.
That's right. You're a ghost, Craig, without an Instagram profile.
So I said to him, you've got to give me the profile so that I can check this out. And then, of course, once you have the profile, you can kind of understand, do you like the same things? Is he family orientated? And then you start letting your guard down, because I think Insta profiles tell you a lot about that person and like what energy that they're putting out into the world and what they're creating and what's important to them and what's not. So for me, that little bit of cyber stalking was really important for safety and security, to know that you're committing to the right one, because let's face it, you're meeting them online, then you meet them in person. But I know from past relationships that sometimes people are Jekyll and Hyde. So you got to make sure that you're aligned on so many different levels. So you got to do your research. So yes, I am a good cyber stalker. I always have been, and I probably always will be.
I love that, went about this, including your daughter, Tori, with this. Craig, how has it been for you blending the families? You obviously have a son of your own, and you've now needed to step into the stepfather role, and Tori, you the stepmother role. How has that been for you, Craig, with the blending of the families? And have you learnt something that you can share with other people that might be going through the same thing?
Yeah, look, that was an attractive part of Tori's profile as well. That was the daughter that then she'd be more understanding of my son.
Oh, nice.
So that was when you're a parent dating another parent. I think it's a lot easier than one that hasn't got any kids versus some that does. I'm not saying that that's the formula, but it actually helps. But the relationship with, I think you've said her name anyway, Bella, it's probably been broken down into 3/3. And it's been 3 years. So take the first year, and you've got to put everything into perspective. She was 13. So suddenly there was a guy on the scene, and also she went off to boarding school. So she's used to being around her mum 24/7 and the apple of the eye and 100% of the time. Then suddenly she's off to boarding school, and by the way, we're chucking in a new man as well, vying for the time. So you're not going to see her as much. And so I had to take it. It was really rough the first probably 6 months. It was really rough. And it was just like, God almighty, I didn't say this, but the thoughts go through your head, is this all worth it?
She definitely
how was
tested
it rough?
you.
Just take us through what was rough.
Well, it was, I'm vying for Tory's time. I wasn't vying for Tory's time, but Bella was. And so she got very, very defensive and very competitive. For Tory's time. And I just had to put my big boys boots on and just say, look, this is going to pass after a while. I'm not actually trying to split those two up, whereas she probably thought that I probably was. Remember, that's a 13-year-old girl that we're talking to here versus a 40-something male. So I had to sort of take the lead and, as I said, put my big boys' pants on and just say, look, let's just ride this one out, because after a while you do get the rapport, you do get the relationship, and she does see that I'm coming from a good place, not a bad place, and the two can coexist, and that takes one maturing, I guess, going from 13 to 14 to 15 to 16, and the other one is that just showing proof that I'm not taking her away. You can actually have more, and I can be the enabler. But guess what? Your mum is going to have someone in her life. So that was probably the second, third. Then the last year, 18 months, even 2 years has been fantastic.
Did she ever say to you, "You're not my father"? That sort of comment?
Yes. And I said to Tory, we were all away at the time, and she took a hissy fit, and then she was talking to Tory not very nicely. And I dipped my toes in just a little bit to say, hey, and I got told, you're not my father.
Yeah.
Which I knew was coming, and we'd spoken about it. It's just that line that they have to say at some point in time. That's what's in their toolkit at number one. And she's used it, and she doesn't feel that way now, I'm hoping. The minute you try and assert any sort of, not fatherly figure, but parenting figure, the first time you're always going to get that, I think. You're always going to get the resistance, like, who the bloody hell are you telling me what to do? You're not my father.
How did you respond to that?
I could see it coming. So I wasn't as offended at that. But you'd like to handle yourself always a little bit different in retrospect, but I wasn't totally off-put. I knew that was coming. Again, you got to put yourself in the 13-year-old's shoes.
And Craig's son and you have got a good relationship. You've built that over time as well, I guess.
Yeah. So
boys are different. Let's talk about boys for a second.
I mean, Tory couldn't, to be fair, you couldn't handle. You loved him at the start, and you two were great because you're both high energy. As you may or may not know, boys are different to girls. They're more high energy. You stand there and they want to climb the tree that you're standing next to. They in a restaurant and they want to climb the walls. That's just how boys are. That's how we're built. And that was an adjustment period for Tory, because Tory, she'd just be like, can't he just stand next to me? Or can't he just, give a boy something. You walk past, the best example of it would be if you walked past an air hockey table and you're with a 12-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl, or a 10-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl, and you both walk past it all at the same time, the boy would be distracted and straight onto the air hockey, trying to climb it, trying to hit it, trying to bash it, bang, bang, whereas the girl just go, oh. So understanding that is probably
It was a
key.
massive shock for me because it was just Bella and I, like we were the girly gang crew, you know, cruising around the world doing our own thing. And then all of a sudden I have a son that climbs trees. I was like, wow, people climb trees. It wasn't until, you know, he was with a group of friends and I saw them all climbing trees. It was like the penny dropped. I'm like, this is normal. So I think, you know, I didn't grow up with boys. I came from, you know, the sisterhood, a family of 4 girls. I was always surrounded by girls. A lot of my friends became my family through the process that we went through, Bella and I. And so for me, I now had 2 men in my life, which is now like such a blessing. But I really had to understand the way boys operate.
Can I ask you guys a question? I had a mate in Los Angeles who was in his 40s and he was doing a lot of dating. He's very detailed and quite persnickety. And he would have a date with a girl, go, how'd it go? And he'd go, oh, she was okay, man, you know, but she did this, or did that. And a couple of times I met the person that he was dating and they'd be really great. But he was so stuck on details. A lot of people in their 30s, 40s, beyond are pretty set in their ways. What, if any, were the obstacles that you guys encountered? And do you call things out that you don't like, or are you just patient and hope they go away?
For me, and pre-Tory, you do get quite the same sort of thing as I said before. The pinky toe was a bung pinky toe, so you got to drop. They were 10 out of 10. But then after a while, you do get, well, let's give this 2 or 3 dates and let's actually see what comes out in the wash, rather than you've got Tory's version of it. You got 45 minutes. Show me your best and. If I'd be interested in her, she's looking at me now, so I'd be interested in her views on what this is. But yep, definitely that culture is out there where on the first impression, if they don't get 10 ticks in the box out of 10, then they're on to the next one, because there's no fear of this might be the last person, because you just swipe again and away you go again, and you load up again and you keep going. It's a cycle.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, because I did kind of have that mentality that I was going to meet 5 different guys within 6 days, I just wanted to understand the energy between them. And I only proceeded to date one of them anyway. And I soon quickly realized it wasn't in alignment with what I wanted. And so I was like, I'm cutting the cord. But for Craig and I, one of the things that stood out on our first date, within the first 45 minutes, might I add, was...
I think it was about an hour and a half.
I'm just laughing. Was the first thing that happened when I went into the pub was it was Toss the Boss, and the guy at the bar was like, you know, do you want to, pick heads or tails? And I picked heads, and it came up heads, and I was like, oh, that's a lucky sign in my head. And this guy next to me was also on a Bumble date, and he was like, oh, this could be your lucky night. And I was like, oh, these are good signs. And then Craig kind of rocks in, and, you know, the thing that he said to me, which really stood out, which was a standout in all those conversations that I'd had with people, was he said, look, you really need to have a common thread. Obviously, you need to have common values. He said, but if you are both working with something that you're incredibly passionate about and that gives you a happy heart, and you want to come home at night and you want to talk about it, you want that other person to kind of understand what you're talking about so that you have like this common glue that sticks. And I hadn't really thought about that before. And, you know, ironically, you know, with my agency, I'd worked with all these top performing retail brands, celebrities and influencers. Now he came from a retail background as well. So, you know, when I was launching Zara into Australia, he was at Westfield. He knew about Zara. So we had all this common ground that we could start talking about. And so that for me was a stick. So because we had something to talk about, we had something to build upon.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't that it was love at first sight. I don't think it was for either of us. It was the fact that we had a foundation that we could build on. And that's, you know, even though Craig proposed to me like 10 months in, which is, you know, pretty like whirlwind in a lot of people's eyes, it just felt so right for us because we had built the foundation.
Felt like longer.
Yeah.
It feels like we've been married for years.
Yeah.
I was about to say, interpret that how you want.
But I love that because it wasn't like, because I think a lot of people are kind of hoping for like fireworks from the very set go, and it's sort of, if you don't have that, oh well, they're not the right person. But if you've got something, as you say, you've found common ground, you obviously had immediately liked each other, and then you were able to give the relationship the time that it needed. Only needed 10 months, but and until, you realize you guys were the right people for each other. So, look, every couple fights pretty much, we feel. I mean, maybe not you guys yet, but but it is like it's how you fight and that can make or break a relationship. Is there something that reoccurringly comes up for you in the fight? But most importantly, how do you resolve it? What are your tips for resolving any fights that you guys get into?
At the risk of getting into another fight, I'm going to let Tory answer this one.
Oh no, we're actually we're smooth sailing, but every so often there'll be a point, because you got to remember, like, we're only 3 years into our relationship.
Yeah.
There'll be something that might come up, and because we're just such passionate people, it'll come up. But then the best thing about us is we're talkers and we talk it through. And what we find is that just another layer just unfolds and your love just becomes deeper and you get to know that person better. So, it's communication is definitely key. And I don't get frustrated with Craig about anything. It's just on occasion.
Really? I'll remind you of that.
Yeah, it's just maybe when he comes home drunk from work, when he's been with the boys for after work beers, and it's like, I'm going to be home at 9 o'clock. But then it's 12 o'clock.
It depends which way you hold your watch, though. If you put your watch on upside down, it's the other way.
Yeah, so then it's like that passion point of like, let's just talk about this and resolve it. It's so easy. And normally what it comes down to is it's just a communication issue. And if you understand how to communicate with each other, I mean, that's the key to unlocking life, right? And the brilliance of any relationship. And, we are talkers. And one of the things that I love so much about Craig is like he's a deep thinker. So, and it's almost like he's an old soul, and my daughter's an old soul, his son's an old soul. And so like, I truly believe like we're all supposed to come together, to enjoy this magical, journey on the highway of life together. But the thing that keeps us all together is we're not afraid to communicate and talk it out.
Awesome. That's the interesting thing though too. When you're dating and if you blow someone off because of, you might get a vibe about them. You just said something, when you guys choose to get through an obstacle or a difficulty, often what's happened in our relationship, when we do communicate and we do go through those things, the relationship drops into a whole nother beautiful place, because you have more understanding. So do you feel like with this world of dating apps and stuff, people are losing an opportunity because it's too easy to swipe right?
Yeah, it's disposable. Like, we're living in a disposable world. You can swipe for anything you want. You can have anything delivered to your home, to your inbox, like anything that you want to find out about in the world that you can't fix. You can find a YouTube video on it. So I guess it's a mindset. And as Craig was saying before, it's about knowing and understanding yourself. And so once you understand yourself, and we were both at that place at the exact time in our lives, which is why the magic happened for us. But when you take time to know yourself, that's when you understand if you're going to give more or give less to whatever it is in terms of the opportunity of dating. Because yes, it's disposable, but it can be meaningful with the right person.
And Cam, to your point, it is very easy if someone's bringing you to account, like if I get home at 12 instead of 9, if that was a first date and that brought you to... Now, I was wrong, I admit. I'm not sure about the punishment that I got, but that's okay. I was wrong. I'll own that.
Because you put peanut butter in your undies.
But if someone in a first or second date is bringing you to account, you're just going... You don't actually look at yourself and say, yeah, okay, I was wrong. It's easier just to go, oh, well, see you later.
Yeah.
And away you go. So,
where do you see you guys in 20 years?
Oh, so happy. So happy. Well, our children obviously will be grown up and hopefully on, their own journey and with happy hearts. And I said to Craig the other day, because we go for a morning walk and coffee date every morning before work. I'm working at home and obviously he's working in the city. And I guess it's that communication tool. We speak for an hour and a half every morning about life. And I just said to him, I woke up this morning and I actually realized that you're turning 50 this year. Your dad is now in his 80s. I'm going to have another 30 years with you. And I'm just so excited. I'm just excited to see what unfolds. It's just,
So hopefully we're still alive.
we are going to be alive.
You will. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe even grandparents too.
Hopefully.
20 years' time. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you see everything in 20 years?
Definitely with you.
Good answer, Craig.
Good answer, Craig. Good
Okay,
answer.
you got the first tick. Just enjoying every single day, though. I think so many times you get up and the last day was just like the day before and the day before. I don't want that. I want to still be learning, and I still want to be experiencing life. It's pretty simple, but that's where the heart is.
We do a segment called the 2-minute shower, given that we're in the bathroom. So you've got 2 minutes in the shower, which means quick answers.
Tory doesn't have a 2-minute shower.
Well, I've come to understand
This may be a challenge for you, Tory. To
Tory,
keep it short.
Tory, if you lived in this house, I'd be all over you like white on rice because you had 2-minute showers have to happen because the gas bill is ridiculous because everyone seems to have this 4-hour baths that they keep filling up with hot water. So 2-minute shower. Here we go. Question number 1. Craig, you can go first. What do people get wrong about you?
I think I'm pretty transparent with how I act and my character. So I don't really get I didn't realise this about you. Tory may want to elaborate something further on that physically. Please do. But
She ain't moving.
but there's come on, baby, talk me up. But there's nothing. But there's nothing that stands out that actually comes back and comes because I feel I am quite open.
You're
and
so
honest.
open and honest. Like what you get with Craig is what you get. Like it's not,
Yeah.
How about you, Tory? What do people get wrong about you?
Well, the short version is for many years of my life, I wore 2 masks. So a lot of people saw me as this glamorous, globe-chopping, entrepreneur who was living the life, meeting the people, going to the parties and all these things. But actually, that was just a facade because what was deep inside was actually the true me. So now that I've kind of, come out and stepped into my power with powerful steps, I think I'm more in alignment with my true self. So I'd say that years ago, people probably got who I truly was wrong, but now they understand exactly who I am because I'm raw and authentic. It is, who I am. I'm in alignment with my destiny.
Well, this very well may answer the next question then. What's your best quality?
Being truthful about myself and those who I choose to surround myself with.
Mine's my wife.
Good answer. Next question. What's your partner's best quality?
His honesty and his ability to just live in the moment and just give it everything. And I wake up every morning and, he gives me the kiss of life. And I love that. I can feel that energy every morning because for years, when I was going through my own personal transformation and finding myself, I remember, one of the therapists that I saw, she said, Tory, just imagine the energy of the man that you want in your bed. And of course, I'd be in the bed on my own. And she's like, you got to imagine it. You got to feel it. And what does it feel like when you wake up in the morning and they're lying there? What do they do? And so I'd always imagine like this man kind of like spooning me with his strength and his like skin on skin and then kissing me on the nape of my neck. And then when I met Craig, I woke up on the first night after we'd spent together, was that exact moment. And I'm like, okay, well, here's a tip for your listeners to actually imagine that and manifest it. But that's, I love that.
Was this a 2-minute shower for the whole segment or per question?
Yeah, that's what I said. That was my concern. My gas bill has already gone through the roof.
Come on, but that was
some
such a
great
good
advice.
answer. We needed that. We needed to hear that answer in its fullness, so I loved that. What's Tory's best quality, Craig?
Am I really lame if I say physical?
No.
No. Well,
I'm going to take that hit.
everything about her physically, I am attracted to. That's probably her best quality, without being specific. But at the same time, her connection to me, someone as awesome as she is, that actually thinks the same about me. That's her best quality.
Yeah.
Excellent.
In one word, see if you guys can do this. In one word, describe each other. One word.
The love of my life, right? That's like many words.
One word.
See, I always going to take a long shower, Cam. Sorry.
All right, we'll allow it.
And I'd say connection, so we're fairly aligned with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Fantastic. You too, Tory, Craig, thank you so much for visiting us today on our podcast. You've been so
Thanks for having us.
insightful and kind and generous with your words and your spirit, and we wish you all the very best.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Thank you.
And if we ever come to your house for a shower, I'm definitely putting a timer on.
I'm going to hold you to that.
No, you can hold me to it. You can hold me to it.
They're gone. Thank you for organising that.
She is such a firecracker, Tory. I've been so lucky to have met her.
It's Tory Archbold
Yeah.
and her husband Craig. They've been
Yeah.
married 3 years, if you didn't pick that up.
And that both of them are just so inspiring in how they just went about finding each other. And, you know, again, there's still some judgment out there about online apps with some people. But, you know, as I say, we know so many people who found love online, and just finding love at any time in your life. And there's such a beautiful example of that.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us in the bathroom.
See you next time.
Bye.